All right, now joining us to discuss this further is African Defence Review Director Darren Olivier. Good afternoon, Darren. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Very concerning developments, a number of people being displaced by M23. Just talk us through what exactly we're observing taking place there now.
Good afternoon. Yes, certainly very worrying. In fact, even worse than Minova, there are many reports that this morning Sake, the major city near Goma, also fell. It's currently a very fluid and unclear situation. There have been counter reports that the DRC government, along with the SADC forces and UN forces, were able to recapture Sake, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. So as things stand, the city of Sake is itself also in an unclear situation. It may be taken over by the rebels, backed by Rwandan forces. And that, of course, is very, very bad because, South Africa, along with the rest of the SADC forces and the UN mission, have a base just to the east of Sake, which is there partially to protect the route to Goma. So it's a very volatile situation, very dangerous and extremely risky at the moment.
What needs to happen for the DRC army to at least overpower M23 now? Because we've been speaking about this for a while now, that when it comes to M23, in as much as some are not aware who exactly could be aiding them, but they seem to have that sophisticated weaponry that the DRC government does not have.
Yes, I mean, they've been very well equipped and supported over the past few years, according to UN reports, by Rwanda. There are also many reports of Rwandan forces fighting directly alongside M23 groups in the DRC. So it isn't just a case of them being rebels. This is really state-on-state violence. We know that Rwanda has deployed things like surface-to-air missiles in the area, deployed drones dropping bombs, deployed heavy mortars, including guided mortars. So this is a substantial force that's been deployed against the DRC government in a sense. The DRC military over the past 2 years also did a fair amount of re-equipping, especially around its specialized forces. But it seems that it still has too much corruption in its ranks, too few good leaders, and it is not able to provide a good, coherent and coordinated response. Another problem is that the ability to use air support, so both in terms of attack helicopters, such as the M23s that they operate, as well as transports, has been very, very highly constrained by the Rwandans deploying both jamming and deploying, obviously, surface-to-air missiles.
So in a sense, they've been reduced to ground forces. Pardon me for interjecting there, but Rwanda has continuously rejected or denied these allegations that they've been assisting the M23, constantly. Of what benefit would it be for them to continue to aid the M23?
Well, this is a long-standing and really complex issue in terms of how you have engagement between the Rwandan government and the DRC government over the years. This stems partially from the movement of the Hutu forces who were part of the genocide in Rwanda in '94 into their DRC, where parts of them became what's known as the FDLR. And the FDLR is one of these non-state groups that is occasionally supported by the DRC government. It's hated by Rwanda, feared by them as well. So one of the goals of Rwanda is to dominate this area and be able to also push back against the FDLR in terms of being able to then avoid this ever becoming a threat in the future. At the same time, Rwanda has a lot of mistrust of the DRC government, always has, and then seeks to dominate this area in order to provide its own security. More cynically, there's obviously a lot of resources available in this area. There are many reports of gold and other minerals being illegally smuggled through Rwanda and then used to rather, benefit that country in terms of its own trade. So it's a complex thing with many political moving parts here, many economic questions as well. It certainly won't be solved overnight, and it's going to take a lot of, I think, trust building and a lot of diplomacy to get to a point where this can be achieved. I mean, back in 2013, both the DRC government and government forces, along with the UN forces, were able to push back M23 and really neuter it as a force. So Rwanda has learned from those lessons and come back with a much stronger force this time.
And then just in closing, the withdrawal of MONUSCO, that's something that we consistently speak about. This was obviously something that was actually asked for by the DRC. But in hindsight, given how strong M23 has become, it seems to be overpowering the DRC's own army. Was it not ill-advised?
I definitely believe so. I think there was a lot of misplaced belief that merely deploying the SADC force and strengthening the DRC force with new equipment would be enough to not require MONUSCO anymore. And clearly, the DRC government had lost faith in MONUSCO. However, the mandate for MONUSCO was recently extended by another year, and there's clearly an understanding on all sides that the withdrawal was premature, and it has been paused. So it won't carry on the same timeline as before.
All right, Darren, thank you very much for your insights this afternoon. That was Darren Olivier, Director of African Defence Review.